The transfer portal has been very kind to the Big 12, West Virginia to BYU, even Utah, and especially Houston. This is the Dose Grande squad.
You're talking ball with the Big 12 squad. From Oklahoma State to Utah, from Kansas State to BYU, from Houston to Texas Tech, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming Big 12 weekend. Buckle up. It's the Big 12 squad, and we have a seat for you. No hurt feelings and thin skin allowed. Squad up. You're part of the Big 12 squad.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to the Dose Grande squad. It is the Locked On Big 12 squad. As the lady said just a second ago, we're going to give you scoops, breakdowns, jazz like that. You guys remember when the squad show was an hour? That was a wild time in my life. It was a wild 2 months in our lives. 30 minutes today. We'll get you in and get you out on your evening commute. Most likely it is Thursday night after all. Parker Ainsworth of Locked On Cougs talking Houston. Jake Hatch, Locked On Cougars, BYU. Mountaineer Paul, Locked On West Virginia, and JT Westersill of Locked On Utes. Thank you for making our shows your first listen every single day. We will touch on the transfer portal, college basketball, and maybe a little national championship, because ESPN tells me that Miami is built like an SEC team. It's my favorite quote from the last 7 days, because of course they would say that. Let's go portal first. Parker Ainsworth, you are claiming the best portal class, maybe in the Big 12, maybe not. Oklahoma State, Texas Tech are up there, but Houston, one of the best in the country at the very least.
Yeah, they made a big splash early with Mekhi Hughes coming out of Oregon. He was a big-time Tulane running back, had 2,700 yards in 2 years there. Got to Oregon, and he was in like one of a half dozen running backs they played, and he opted out of the rest of the season at the 4-game mark to preserve a red shirt. He's a big Willie Fritz guy. They bring in 3 offensive linemen that were all conference guys. They brought in a tight end that was very coveted in Overmeyer. A pretty strong class so far for Houston. I don't know what you think about on-3 rivals, that whole thing. They got him at 7th in the country right now. I think that's pretty good. I hear that's good.
Paul, where do the West Virginia Mountaineers sit when it pertains to, I know last year had to be a complete overhaul. Is this a war of positive attrition or overhaul 2.0?
Yeah, West Virginia is only 1 or 2 spots behind Houston. So also doing really well in the portal. Totally remade the offensive line. They've gotten several first-team all-conference offensive linemen to come in. A couple of those from Jacksonville State, where legendary Rick Trickett, offensive line coach Rick Trickett, who coached with Rich Rodriguez at multiple other stops, has put 41 guys into the NFL. So, that's a guy that's really legendary. The offensive line room is looking really good. But you bring in the nation's leading rusher in Cam Cook, who ran for almost 2,000 yards last year, is obviously a huge pickup for West Virginia. And you bring in an LSU wide receiver who, to let a lot of people tell it, one of the best players on their team last year, just happened to have his season ruined as a freshman. He was going to get on the field for them. So we feel really good about him. But, it's been all quality, multiple Power 4 schools that were starters, nothing like it was last year where it was D2, FCS. They performed very well at those schools, D2, FCS, and almost, you bring in 50 guys, if even a third of them hit, that's still not enough, right? So in this situation, it's a lot less players and a lot more good players. At least we hope. So we feel really good about it. They're actually still working. As of just earlier, we're trying to bring in a couple defensive ends. One from Michigan State was really good last year. Another one that was a D3 All-American that's got almost 20 sacks. And then a safety from Michigan that had about 50 or 60 tackles last year. So, they're still working as of right now, even though it's a dead period. We'll see if we can get some visits in.
JT Westersill, Locked On Utes. It's a whip round at this point. Utah loses Kyle Whittingham, the head coach, as well as coordinators to Michigan. But there hasn't been a mass exit of guys going to the Wolverines like you saw for Iowa State. The entire Iowa State roster is headed to – you want to push back, I don't know, mass exit.
Maybe not mass, but all the best guys. Almost all the best. We just lost.
Yeah, you lost a lot of guys.
We just lost Celestine Moa. By the time this episode comes out, I think he's going to be a Wolverine. I mean, he has a do not contact entry. That was our 5-star recruit. Everyone's becoming a Utah
I missed the Moa one. That's not good.
Yeah, no, it's terrible.
That's not good at all.
It's bad. Also, I love that this show we start with football, by the way. Let's not talk basketball at all. Let's just talk football on this show. But although
talk
football's not
basketball,
good right now,
You want to talk? We just beat
I
Kansas.
said I don't want to talk basketball.
I would love to talk basketball.
But no, it's bad in Utah right now. John Henry Daly, one of the best pass rushers in the Big 12. He's a Wolverine. You get other guys like even a guy like Jonah Laea, the defensive tackle. Like all of a sudden he's a Wolverine. What? JJ Buchanan, our rising wide receiver tight end hybrid. He's a Wolverine too. So we knew he'd take the staff with us, but I am just surprised at how many players that he's taken to. Look, Utah's gotten some fine players in the transfer portal, but the biggest storyline has been all the best guys for the most part, they've left, and it feels like most of them end up being Wolverines.
Well, I was going to have like a positive spin to this. Parker got me excited. I was like, man, this is great. Utah still got some guys.
Can we bring up an issue that brings up, though, in that? So Houston's not innocent on this. A linebacker from Mississippi just entered with a do not contact tag and committed to Houston within a few hours.
Amen.
Parker. Tampering, it does not exist. We're not.
Oh, the BYU guy would say that, huh? Here comes the BYU guy.
I was really going to ask, what's the point of the tag? Like, what do we do with this?
Well, no, but that's the thing about this. Everybody thinks that do not contact tag essentially means that players are being tampered with. We had Bronco Mendenhall on my radio show in Salt Lake City. He's the Utah State head coach. And his exact words were, tampering does not exist in college football. He says there is some mythical hotline we're supposed to be able to call and throw essentially tattle on people. He says, I don't think anybody's going to answer those phone calls. So the whole thing with the tags, yeah, I get the frustration with it. But guys, the agents, the high school coaches, the parents, you can't contain it. There's no way to contain it.
The do not contact the hotline is what you're saying. That's actually what it's talking about.
The Damon Williams thing is so important, right? We got to get something back for us.
Oh gosh.
And I mean, I say us, but I don't mean anything against the players.
I don't care.
I just mean on this side of things, you have to have some kind of protection in for the universities somewhere. And if that's multiple years in a buyout that counts against the cap, I think that's probably the best solution. If you've got a guy and you sign him to 2 years and somebody wants him, fine, you can have him. But whatever the buyout is going to count against your cap. I think that will probably help in some cases, unless they're just the top tier, they'll just make it up in NIL. But, I think for the middle ground people, they'll have to think twice about that.
Well, and MP, to your point, we have the Big Ten that threatened Damon Williams with litigation themselves. So we got conferences who are threatening to throw their weight behind.
Got to have something. Got to have some kind of leverage.
That could change it, but you're right. The buyout thing, I think it's absolutely the right play because if it counts against your cap, you're going to be very wary of paying that money.
Hatch, let's keep it with you. BYU, at the time of recording, they don't have a ton of players through the portal, but the quality of player is high. Like the three guys you got can be instant contributors for BYU. And by the way, like the entire roster is coming back. Anybody who cannot leave to go pro or is out of eligibility, if you have eligibility, you're returning to BYU right now, aside from a group of 10 transfers that positive attrition weren't contributors anyway. Is this the ideal scenario that Kalani wanted?
Yeah, quite honestly, it was. And the thing is, I don't think there's any other program out there in the country that can essentially say, as you mentioned, Drake, they made a clean sweep of their top-end talent that has eligibility remaining, sticking in their program. And that's a credit to what Kalani's built culture-wise. Yes, there is a money element. BYU is absolutely having to funnel cash to these guys via NIL and revenue share to keep them in place. But to your point,
that's cheaper.
In some ways it is, because,
it is. You get a little discount that way.
You do. You get hometown discounts. But the other thing about this is there were guys coming back off missions for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, as well as incoming freshmen. BYU doesn't have a lot of slots to fill, maybe 15 transfer portal slots at most. And as of recording, they added 3 offensive linemen on Monday. So those slots are filling up pretty quick. And I think it's more a quality versus quantity situation for BYU.
As the Utah guy, I hate how much I agree with everything Jake just said.
You know what? Let's push the basketball talk. We will just for you, JT, toward the end of the show. And look, reason being to the world. Look, it's the Big 12 squad. The listeners of the squad are the biggest listeners of the Locked On Big 12 podcast and each of our family of shows. So if you are that listener right now, we'll tell you we're recording this at 9 Eastern time on Monday. So games have happened Tuesday and Wednesday, but we'll give you a synopsis of what we've seen so far in basketball sans those 2 games. Oops. But first, state of the program, Utah Utes. Let's comfort JT because he seems a little sad. This is the Dose Grande squad. I'm going to leave everybody here, too. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Hatch, favorite part of Game Time?
Well, the best part is you see those prices right up front. There's no surprise fees being tacked on at the end. That's my favorite part.
Parker, your turn.
They get cheaper as the game gets closer. It's pretty nifty.
I do like that part. And when the game starts, you can still find tickets on Game Time, and they're like $5 sometimes. Paul, you would tell me all day yesterday. You would not stop calling me saying, I love Game Time so much.
Absolutely. I can actually 360-degree radius look at my seat in the app before checkout. No surprise fees.
JT, you told me you hated Game Time, which was really concerning.
No, I love Game Time because I can find Utah basketball tickets for super cheap on Game Time, and you guys can as well if you head over to Game Time.
Not to the BYU game, you cannot.
No, all in the Hudson Center.
Yep, not in Salt Lake. Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That is Game Time. It sucks what's happening to Iowa State. They don't get the beauty of what Oklahoma State's going through. Paul, you just covered this you've been talking about this for a while. Oklahoma State's doing the Indiana, James Madison, Kurt Signetti thing of just let's take all of these really good players from mid-major or smaller school. I want to hit on that, but first, JT, if you are Utah, I mean, you don't have a very strong portal class that's come in so far. If you're losing top-end talent, who are you replacing it with for Morgan Scalley?
I mean, that's the problem, right? Is you just hope developmental guys and some of these guys hit. Do you need to continue to find the John Henry Dailies, right? Now, granted, he was at BYU, but at the time he committed to Utah, he was not a proven college football player. Then he bought into Utah and found success here. But look, Utah has lost almost all their best guys. They have gotten a couple to come back. Wayshawn Parker, the running back, returning. That's massive. Yeah. I'm excited that Bird Ficklin comes back, but at the same time, the expectation is still that Devin Dampier is going to re-sign. He hasn't yet. I love talking about re-signing, by the way, as that's our favorite thing in college football right now. But
DJ Lagway.
Yeah, exactly.
Time of recording, he still has not signed the paper.
He hasn't.
I hear Cam is out looking for him right now, actually.
Yes.
But it's just a mess. Like Utah's gotten some fine guys, but a lot of what they're banking on are G5 guys who had success. Like we got the North Texas pass rusher. That's like the one guy that hasn't gone to Oklahoma State, Ethan Day. He went to Utah. He had 4.5 sacks. How does that translate against P4 competition? I'm curious to see. And a lot of the P4 guys they have gotten were backups or not high impact players. So it's
you
Utah.
got the Utah State kid, didn't you?
Yes, we got a receiver, Pagan, that I'm excited about. But at the same time, like I have a memory, and last year we got Otto Tia. He had 500 yards with the Aggies, and that worked awful with Utah. He had one catch for 20 yards all season. So do I think Pagan's better? I do, but it's not like proven commodities at the P4 level that Utah is landing. So I think Utah will be fine. They recruit well. They still return some key talent, but they also have to replace all 5 starting offensive linemen, which was their best unit up front. So a regression for Utah as we stand here today is probably more likely, and I don't love saying that, but it's early in the portal window, so we keep hope alive and carry on.
I love saying that because about 6 weeks ago, that would probably be Houston's second toughest game next year. And this is this is fantastic.
So, JT, have we hit the point in this whole ordeal where you say, you know what, admittedly, you should have given Whittingham another year?
I don't think so.
You still wouldn't do it. Knowing everything you've lost, you wouldn't do it.
Okay, well, I mean, there was a chance, but I'll just say this. I think a lot of the guys that left, I think they still very well might have ended up somewhere else, right? Does John Henry Daly stay at Utah? Let's just call it what it is with Utah.
No, they left to follow Witt. So if Witt was still there, right?
Drake, is Utah one of the top 5 like NIL schools? Are they top 10 even? Are they even one of the best in the Big 12? No, the best guys were probably going to leave. Teo Johnson, their safeties at UCLA. What the heck? We just beat them by 30 this year. But now he's there because NIL, I think, being the biggest reason. There are other factors. There's other reasons for all these guys, but Utah is not of the upper echelon in NIL. And this is the second year in a row now where we look at some of the top guys leave at Utah. I think of a Cameron Calhoun last year who ends up at Alabama, and he actually barely even played there. So we'll see what happens with a lot of these guys. But even if Witt stayed, I think a lot of them would have ended up leaving. So yeah, would it have been nice if Kyle came back and a couple of these guys end up staying? Sure. But at the same time, I think a lot of them still would have left because Utah is not a upper echelon NIL school. So you're going to lose your best guys a lot of times when the year ends.
But do you not think so? Like when Holgerson left Houston, a handful of guys threw their name in the portal because they were Holgerson guys, and I mean, like a couple of them are in the NFL now, right? Mm-hmm. I don't, in my findings, it doesn't sound like they were actually going to even dabble in it until he got fired. Like, do you think that it just opened the door, even if they might not have, if they had found out that had that kind of number with tampering or whatever, they might have left anyway? Do you not think it at least opened the door for them to like look at what else goes out there?
I mean, there's a chance, but at the same time, Morgan Scalley's been with Utah for so long, right? It's the same voice taking over that these guys all knew what he was going to offer, know what he's about. It's going to be a similar type of program. So I really don't think a lot of the departures would have been different. Now, granted, like a JJ Buchanan, he's probably still a Ute if Kyle Whittingham's there, right? Because I feel like that staff was like, oh, we saw him up close and personal. We know how good he is. Let's bring him in. But some of those other guys I mentioned, John Henry Daly, a Smith Snowden, the Teo Johnson, the best ones, they were probably going to leave. So that's where, to me, it didn't make a huge difference. But hey, in some alternate reality, maybe everyone runs it back with the Utah Utes in 2026. But unfortunately, we'll never know.
Paul, I feel like Oklahoma State, again, it's the Cignetti way of bringing in really good mid-major players and then turn them into elite Power 4 guys with a mixture of other formerly Power 4 guys, and then build out of the transfer portal, build with older players. Oklahoma State is in not just one of the best spots in the Big 12, one of the best spots in the country, and that's per any transfer portal rankings. This is an overhaul that is completely positive for the Pokes.
It's the new way. It's the new way. It's, it's basically a ready-made transition from North Texas to Oklahoma State. It's really crazy. And, covering West Virginia, covering Oklahoma State here over the last week and a half has been really interesting. Just the different philosophy and types of players they're both bringing in. At the very top, you've got the 5-star quarterback in Mestemaker. You've got a basically just a smidge under 5-star in Hawkins. You've got a guy that's a 4-star in Wyatt Young, another 4-star in Wendell Gregory. That you've got the keep from Oklahoma State, who was, if you could keep one guy from them outside of Segrin, it was probably Gregory. And they've added just a myriad of other 4-star dudes. And anybody that was anybody on that North Texas team has come in. But it's not just North Texas players. Like they have gotten dudes from every part of the country that really you could want. And I think that one thing that people aren't talking about enough is Oklahoma State got a mysterious donor to – I say mysterious only because I don't know him as well as maybe Cody would. But
is this the ghost of Boone Pickens?
Yeah, the ghost of Boone Pickens. They've got a guy that's on this is what I was told by multiple people there, on a Texas Tech level donor for them. Wow. So who was writing these checks. He covered the Mestemaker salary by himself, which was $7 million. So, that's an insane, that's most people's outside NIL cap. Like mid-tier Power 4 on down is in that 7 to 10 range outside the cap, right? You get up above 15 or so, you're getting into the upper tiers, 20, but so I think you're looking at it like, man, Oklahoma State's in a really good spot year one. And I really do believe that. Like, last year at West Virginia, I tried to convince myself that we had a shot year one, but we just lost too many players. Oklahoma State's in a similar situation, but the quality that they're bringing in, and it's ready-made. I think they're closing in on 20 or 25 players from North Texas now. And I would say at least half of those are close to 4-star or 4-star. Like they won 12 games for a reason, and it was the American, right? So it's the very highest level of the group of 5 that you can possibly get, and they were the best of it. So the players they have, and they have a really, really unique philosophy when it comes to recruiting that they won't divulge about. So I like it. Obviously, we have to see what'll happen. It's the Big 12, and most of the time our teams eat each other. But I do think Oklahoma State's got a shot to have a Houston type year in year one. Anyways, I don't know if they'll do Indiana, but I think they could do something like Houston, maybe like did last year.
Yeah, no doubt. Coming up, basketball. That's the Note Grande squad. Come on, JT. Hoops, and again, we recorded this on Monday. Just the best time for all of us to get together. So hoops as of Monday. Overarching feelings on the season. JT, we'll put you last.
Great call. That's where I want to be all season long for basketball talk, right?
Well, Parker, this Houston team, what they did to Baylor, this Houston team, what they've done all year long. This is a this is a fun aside. Vanderbilt plays 0 games the remaining schedule against top 15 opponents. BYU plays 6 games against top 15 teams. Vanderbilt's number 2 in the country in strength of schedule. BYU's number 23 in the country in strength of schedule per ESPN. Oh, wait a second. I do have a lot of questions about that. But Parker, the Houston Cougars, once again clicking. And I would say their best 2 or 3 guys didn't even play their best games against Baylor. Like this team ceiling still feels like it could be there.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I want to make sure everyone gets to talk because I actually want to know more about a couple of y'all's programs. But the Houston thing actually feels weirdly ahead of schedule relative to last year. Last year, you bring in a new point guard in Miles Uzan, and you had a few more losses at this point, and so on. Right now, Houston's got just the 1 loss from Las Vegas in the Players era. But you also weirdly feel like this year's team has a lot more to grow. You start 2 freshmen, and they're still kind of picking up. I mean, they're out of position on defense several times a game. And it's like, okay, can you fix that over the course of the season? This Kingston Fleming guy looks like a top 10 pick, if not a top 5 pick. Emmanuel Sharp is doing the Emmanuel Sharp things. They look really, really good. And JoJo Tugler's been staying out of foul trouble lately. Those are all good things. Obviously, I think Jake has his own fair share of things to be happy about too. It's an incredible conference. You can't win 19 games in it anymore like Houston did last year, so I guess you can't do that part. They only
legally you can't
now. They have 18 conference games now. So I think that it's fair to say Houston's going to have a good year if they don't win 19 like they did last year.
Hatch, it has been. I mean, yeah, if you turn on ESPN, it's still the AJ Dybantsa show. Like it is AJ Dybantsa and company. But I don't think people understand the level that Rob Wright and Richie Saunders elevate this team because the country is going to hone in on AJ Dybantsa. This BYU squad is a lot more complete than I think they get credit for from those that just think it's Dybantsa and bust.
Well, and that to your point, Drake, that's exactly what it is. It's a true big 3 because AJ, he looks the part of potentially the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft. You talk about Kingston Fleming, Parker. Like we have 4 or 5 guys in this league alone that I think are top 10 caliber NBA draft picks, and AJ's right there among the best of the best. But you're right, Rob Wright, all he does is make plays off of guys like Richie Saunders and AJ Dybantsa, and Richie in his own right, all he's done is elevate his play. And the game against Utah last weekend, how many offensive rebounds late in that game did Richie Saunders come up with that were absolutely critical to BYU grinding out a win over Utah in the Huntsman Center? So, yeah, this big 3, they have made BYU a force to be reckoned with. But the nice part is they're getting contributions from other guys. Kennard Davis Jr., Keba Keita. Off the bench, you have the new addition of Bidu Ahmed or Abdullah Ahmed. They've got a really, really solid squad. The only question I've got about them is their guard depth, and that's the only concern because they've had 2 season-ending injuries on that guard line.
Surely Chris Paul still has eligibility and could come to be like Kyrie Irving possibly.
If LeBron's going to go to Ohio State, why can't CP3 play in Provo?
Correct. Mountaineer Paul, West Virginia, not getting near enough love on the national scale right now at all. They're a top 25 caliber team, in my opinion, because of their wins, a couple of their really quality wins this year, and certainly a tournament team in my eyes.
Yeah, I think we're hitting our stride for sure. You know, we honestly started out the beginning of the year without 2 of our best players for the first 10 games. And so, you know, we started out pretty well, and then you threw those guys into the mix, and it kind of ruined the chemistry for a little bit. And now we've hit our stride again. Honor Huff's the best 3-point shooter I've ever witnessed in my life outside of like a Steph Curry. I've never seen a guy like him in my life. I've never. Like this guy is incredible. He's on pace to actually pass Steph Curry all time this year and finish inside the top 20 if he keeps on doing what he's doing right now. So, you know, he's a dude that, you know, he put up 23, probably single-handedly helped us beat Kansas in the second half, or day before yesterday, in a game where, you know, it was he and Lorient who was on that Final Four squad at FAU. Harlan Obioha, the 7-footer, really played big inside. And this team, like I said, hitting their stride. Trace Eaglestaff averaged almost 20 points a game in North Dakota last year, put up 41 against Alabama. And he has been horrible this year outside the last 10 games. So he's finally coming on, it seems. And he's the piece that can really unlock this team's potential, because you just can't guard both he and Honor Huff in 3-point scenarios and still contain Brennan Lorient down low. So we feel really good about it. Don't know how we'll do against Houston necessarily. That's a huge step up. The only team that we faced comparable to that is Iowa State, and we didn't fare well, but that was in Ames. So, but we beat Cincinnati, we beat Kansas, two pretty good teams here back to back. The only other two games that we lost, we were up by 12 against both Ohio State and Clemson early in the year with less than 6 minutes to go and blew both of those games, or this would be a 13-win team right now. And you can say ifs and buts all you want, but that you're supposed to hold on to those kind of wins. And the other day against Kansas, we did. We finally did. We held off a run late in the game because we played such tough defense. Our team's been wearing out late. I think they've kind of got the formula figured out, and I really love what Ross Hodge is doing in year one. We got 5-star, 4-star, and we got another 5-star coming on campus as far as recruiting goes. So things are going really well.
JT, will the sun ever shine again?
It will next year. Look, let's call it what it is. This Utah team has one win against a P4 team. It's Ole Miss. And I know we talked about how the ESPN loves to glaze the SEC. Ole Miss has one other P4 win themselves too. It's Missouri. And that's it. So this is a Utah team where, yes, they showed up well against BYU. And wouldn't it be hilarious if by the time this releases, Utah beats Tech and then everything I'm saying is completely bad and wrong. But at the same time, I've seen this movie before where Utah plays well against a BYU because it's a rivalry game and the players get up for it. It's one of the better atmospheres all season long. It actually is the best. It's straight up the best atmosphere in the Huntsman all year. And the rest of the season is disappointing. Look, they just got blown up by Arizona. I know a lot of teams have, but you also just lose to a Colorado team that I still don't think is that great either. I think the Big 12 got better, and I think Utah got worse from last season too. I knew the season was going to be long as soon as they lost to Cal Poly. Heck, I knew the season was going to be long when they went to overtime against Weber State. They do not have good size up front. And yes, I like the guards, but they're too small. So I think it's going to be a long year for Utah. I don't think they win more than 3 games in the Big 12. It was a miss year one for Alex Jensen in terms of building this team, and he'll get to try again next year because I'm not feeling good about how this team has looked so far, nor how they'll carry out the rest of the season. Last I checked, they're not favored in a game the rest of the way.
You said they got 3 wins. Name them.
I know. I said, you know what? I'm going to go them to upset a couple teams. So I think they'll get a Cincinnati on the road.
Okay.
Outside of that, they're going to beat someone they shouldn't beat. So, is that a TCU at home coming up?
Okay.
Is that an Arizona State, right? But then they're also going to lose some of those games too. So that's why those are the.
Yeah, I mean, fair. Actually, yeah, I'm with them now. I get it.
But it's rough. It's rough right now, and we'll see if it turns around next year. It's still way too early to judge Alex Jensen. To me, his GM as well, Wes Wilcox, like everyone, they just need to do a better job evaluating the talent level at this level. They're NBA guys. They need to learn what it takes to succeed in college, and we'll see if they can be better next year because it'll be a rough year.
Jake, as you know, NBA coaches that try to coach college, it never works.
No, it never works. But JT, I believe that Alex Jensen and Wes Wilcox can evaluate talent. I got no problem saying that, but this is what really matters to get that talent to Salt Lake City.
Great point.
Jake Hatch is living his best life right now.
Some of the
trust me, we're living large in Provo.
Well, the big swings they have too, Jake. I'm not blanking on the Auburn guy's name. I'm talking about on the roster.
Yeah.
No, he's the guy he's on Utah's roster now. I'm talking about.
Parker.
Yeah, anyways, he's the guy who got in trouble last year. He was a 4 or 5-star, but he just didn't work out. Doesn't work at Utah either.
Cam Newton?
Yeah.
Who's the Auburn guy?
Yeah. How much SEO can Drake fit into one segment right there? That's what that was.
Talking about Ja'Kai Howard?
Locked on Big 12, Cam Newton mentioned. Chris Davis.
Can I throw out something crazy to end the show?
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah,
was the Big 12 actually the 4th best P4 conference in football this year when we look at how the ACC did in bowl games?
No. Still better than the ACC.
We did our part. That's y'all's fault.
Pretty sure you're talking about
we did well.
8-5 Duke won the ACC.
Enjoyed the Pop-Tarts. That's all I'll say. So
yeah, that's true.
Neil Brown is
ribs.
building
Did y'all see that?
What?
At the Texas Bowl, they got to eat ribs. Like they just passed out beef ribs at the end of the game.
Hey.
That's pretty awesome.
That was awesome.
When in Texas, man. Come on, get that plan.
I've had barbecue with Hatch and JT and Parker in Texas. Next year, Paul.
I've had barbecue with Hatch.
Hey, shout out to John, by the way. And yeah, Mountaineer Paul and I have enjoyed a meal together. But John down there in Dallas, Fort Worth, Frisco area, taking care of the Big
12 media day. That was a good day.
You hooked us up. That was awesome. I'll be at the BYU Utah basketball game. I'll see you there, JT. Surely
you'll
Utah
be leaving
will win,
at halftime. You will be leaving at halftime.
Why?
It'll be a blowout.
This has been It Always Will Be Locked On. Thanks for making our shows your first listen every single day. Dose Grande Squad.
Q Country Road.